Pasadena. Pirate incursion. Emergency protocols activated. Meow Corps Commando deployed.
Pirates? Here we go again.
Hello everyone. From the beginning, Skin Deep is anything but. Everything presented to you is designed to quickly immerse you in the game world. And the world couldn't be easier to understand. You are an insurance commando working for the Meow Corporation. Your job is to ride frozen on a ship for an indeterminate amount of time to be thawed in case of attack. At this point, your objective is to find and rescue any captive cats, call an escape pod for them, and then survive to get out yourself. You must take on a more stealthy and tactical approach to your rescue operation. Luckily, the ships are absolutely full of objects that can be turned deadly, such as highly flammable perfume bottles, whose odorous clouds can be turned into explosive fireballs when they're touched by the sparks created by an assault rifle. You may also be able to find more directly deadly contraptions, such as grenades of various types and blocks of TNT, and better weapons tend to be available later in the game. But nothing is more deadly than a commando, as whenever you're close enough to a dazed opponent, you'll be given the option to pounce on them. And at this point, you'll ride them, and you'll be able to slam their head onto various shipboard equipment, such as drinking fountains, light fixtures, or really anything that sticks out of the wall. You do this a few times and enemies will promptly go down, at which point you can expertly eject their heads and... Oh, right, I didn't explain that yet. You see, this particular gang of pirates has access to some truly exotic tech, and it gives them the ability to escape death, provided that their heads are still intact. Spread out throughout the ship, they've placed a number of purple pads on the floor, and should any of the pirates suffer terminal damage, their heads will be pulled toward the closest pad. Upon reaching this pad, their bodies will instantly regenerate, thus becoming a problem for any insurance commando again. And this is why whenever you eliminate one of them, you should carefully pry their heads from their bodies and carefully eject them out of the ship. Doing this will prevent them from reaching a regeneration pad, and thus they will cease to be a problem to you. Okay, so what I've just described is the basic mechanics of how the game works. And if that's all that there was to the game, I probably wouldn't even have bothered to make this video. The reason the game works, and the reason that it may appeal to you, it has its own unique style of deadpan humor, based on how ridiculous the entire thing is. Everything in the game is there to remind you of your situation, to keep you immersed in a universe where cats are cube-headed, blocky creatures that keep you employed. The crew quarters have cat beds and cat toys, and of course, there are hidden cassette tapes, because why wouldn't there be? That brings me to the music and the audio of the game. I think they do a great job of getting you into the mood that the game is going for. The sound effects are helpful and they don't get in the way of the action, but the best the game has to offer really is the voice acting. Nina often throws out little quips during the mission, and many of these are probably never going to get old. The voice actors manage to throw out the most ridiculous lines of dialogue in a way that makes them sound perfectly normal and standard for the situation, and that helps keep you in the moment. The first mission skips around a lot to put you right on top of the next thing that you should be doing, explaining how the game works while also pushing you forward through a mission. I found it to be amongst the less intrusive forms of tutorial, where one extreme prevents you from touching anything except for the button that you're supposed to touch, and others just don't have anything at all. Even if you hate tutorials, this one mostly just lets you play the mission while also directing your next move to be a specific one. It'll also be your introduction to the story, and I feel it does a good job of dropping you into it, as I was never confused about what's happening. Rather, well, may be confused about why the cats are bosses, but the game also introduces you to its in-game help system. Namely, you have the ability to bring up an overlay that lets you zoom in on any instruction label present on the ship. And like any good corporate ship filled with good corporate objects, most objects will have some kind of warning label that lets you know exactly what type of hazard it could be helpful with. Between missions, you'll have a cubicle to hang out in where you can answer emails from all the cats that you recently rescued, many of whom you seem to have met before. There will also be ongoing threads where emails you previously answered will now have new replies and... Okay, why am I explaining to you how email works? It's an email system. Anyways, you'll get story exposition there if you care to read it, and you'll be sent tutorial missions from your employer in the form of VR training. There is also a sleeping nook for replaying memories, which is something I have yet to unlock, as well as a lever to start your next mission. Aside from the strength of the game's presentation, this is a game that puts all the tools before you and just lets you do you. Whether you want to stealth through the mission and never be seen, or if you prefer simply pouncing on every pirate that you see, it's entirely up to you. You are given the tools to approach the ship as quietly or loudly as you want. The enemy AI will respond to noises though, and if the alarm is raised, you'll not only have to contend with the pirates, but also with the ship's security system, which is under pirate control. Unless you're a lot stealthier than me, you will also soon learn about the game's rather gruesome approach to wounds. I really can't think of very many games where you need to pick up bullets that are embedded in you, since maybe Metal Gear 3. You'll also have the joy of pulling glass shards out of your feet if you carelessly step onto them after shattering a screen with someone's head. The fun of the game comes from the humor and the sandbox approach to the missions, and you may also enjoy the game if you like to find every single hidden nook and cranny in where there might be a collectible. That is not to say that the game is perfect. If I have a single complaint about the game, it is that it keeps its optional objectives secret until you finish the mission, at which point you'll find out if you thought of wishing for more wishes or not. And if you didn't, are you the type of cat that would instantly play that mission again to get those wishes? You bet your tail you are. Or at least, you'll probably feel that way the first few times this happens. The more complex and long a mission is, the less pleased you'll be that you managed to figure out 2 of the 3 optional objectives, but you missed the 3rd. And at this point, are you really going to want to spend another 30 minutes solving the mission that you already solved just to find that last secret? I guess your mileage will vary here. The design of the optional objectives also makes me scratch my head a little bit. In most of the missions I've played so far, and I do have a few to go still, there's at least one optional objective that also represents a creative way of getting rid of some pirates. But often, the solution to this puzzle is so hidden and convoluted that by the time that you find all the pieces, that you've already dealt with all of the pirates. In fact, I spent quite a bit of time roaming around an empty spaceship just to try to find the last hidden cassette. I feel that for everything that the game seems to do to keep you in the moment of the game, these bits feel a little too gamey and a reminder that despite how many cats are being held prisoner, they can all go to hell until I find that last tape. In any case, these are my thoughts on the game. I think for the price, this is an easy pickup if you enjoy stealth sandbox mechanics and are a fan of ridiculously zany deadpan humor. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.